Biden administration, oh, this is from our friends at the Daily Mail. Big shout out to them. The Biden administration is admitting to flying 320,000 migrants secretly into the United States to reduce the number of crossings at the border. Lamau. That is such a liberal thing to do. So they have transported migrants on secret flights into the United States, and lawyers for its immigration agencies claim that revealing the locations of where these flights landed could create national security vulnerabilities. The Customs and Border Protection has refused to disclose crucial information about a program last year arranging flights for thousands of undocumented immigrants from foreign airports directly to the United States. It means that while record numbers of migrants were flown over the southern border last year, the Biden White House has also directly been transporting them into the country. So they were coming across the border, the southern border, in record numbers, and the Biden administration was flying them in here as well. Now, how did they find this out? Actually, a cell phone app was able to track this, and they found that 320,000 aliens with no legal rights to the United States were flown in here. 320,000. This comes after a controversy over a 2022 transportation program in which the administration used taxpayers' money to move migrants throughout the country on overnight flights. Good God. I'm a legal citizen. I ain't been nowhere. All I got to do is just pretend to be. I've been taking Spanish on Duolingo. Maybe I should just go there and be like, me no speak English. Please fly me to Los Angeles. No hablo inglés. Quiero tomar un vuelo a Los Angeles. Por favor. Sí. Voy a Florida. A new revelation in the Freedom of Information lawsuit against Biden's administration reveals that they will not disclose information about secret migrant flights from out of country because it opens up vulnerabilities. Now, revealing where these people are going opens up vulnerabilities, but not flying in hundreds of thousands of people who are not supposed to be here. That doesn't expose you to nothing anyway. Included in the details of the Freedom of Information Act lawsuit, first reported by Todd Bensman, the Center for Immigration Studies founder, the Center for Immigration Studies found that Biden's CBP approved the latest secretive flights that transported hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants from foreign countries into at least 43 American airports. From January to December of 2023, you know that means Gary, right? I would not be surprised. I mean, they probably not going to do it at O'Hare and Midway, so you could sneak them in right here in Gary. Just a thought. I don't have any proof of that, but that's just, it seems like it'd be the perfect place to fly people in under the radar. The program was part of Biden's expansion of the CBP One app, which kicked off at the start of last year. Migrants were able, under Biden's expansion, to apply for asylum using the app from their home countries. But the Center for Immigration Studies, the CIS, notes that the transportation of these migrants directly into the U.S. is one of the lesser-known uses of the app. Aliens who cannot legally enter into the United States use CBP One to apply for travel authorization and temporary humanitarian release from those airports. Under this parole release, migrants are able to remain in the U.S. for 2 years without obtaining legal status, and meanwhile are eligible for work authorization. The administration first said that it would not reveal which airports the undocumented aliens were transported, citing a law enforcement exception in the refusal to hand over the information. But new information from the CIS lawsuits reveals the locations were not disclosed due to fear of bad actors that would inflict harm on public safety, or the information would create law enforcement vulnerabilities. Again, but not flying in strangers into your country. CBP lawyers wrote that revealing the airports would reveal information about the relative number of individuals arriving. Oh, well, you wouldn't want that, now would you? And thus resources expended at particular airports. That would in turn reveal operational vulnerabilities that could be exploited by bad actors, altering their patterns of conduct, adopting new methods of operation, and taking other counter measures. So we talked about immigration a few months ago. And I told you guys then, I actually played a clip for you guys of Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, who pretty much let the cat out of the bag. One of the main reasons that they are letting these illegal immigrants flow across the border basically unharangued.
Unless we needed cheap labor to build the transcontinental railroad to remove from being an immigrant to this country. And yet there's been resistance throughout our history. Unless we needed cheap labor to build the transcontinental railroad when we invited Chinese workers to come in. We treated them, unfortunately, in an inhumane fashion and didn't give them largely eligibility to become citizens. But we needed the labor, we needed the workers. It's happened many times before. What troubles me about the debate now about the southern border is it is one half of the immigration equation. Yes, we need order at the border. Yes, we need to have changes in the laws that reflect the reality of the overwhelming numbers from all over the world who are coming to our shores and our border. But there is also an incredible demand for legal immigration into this country even now. The presiding officer, my colleague from the state of Illinois, has legislation which addresses one aspect of that. Her bill, and I hope I describe it accurately, says that if you're an undocumented person in this country and you can pass the physical and the required test, background test, the like, you can serve in our military, and if you do it honorably, we will make you citizens of the United States. Do we need that? Do you know what the recruiting numbers are at the Army and the Navy and the Air Force? They can't reach their quotas each month. They can't find enough people to join our military forces. And there are those who are undocumented who want the chance to serve and risk their lives for this country.
There you go. The U.S. military is not meeting its numbers. They kicked a ton of people out over the vaccine that now we know caused a whole bunch of medical ailments, as I cover on this show regularly. Particularly in young people. Again, disclaimer, nobody ever said old people and sick people who are deep at risk should not get the vaccine. Just there was no reason to force young, healthy people to get it. No reason to force young, healthy people to get it. So remember, Chicago fired a bunch of their police officers because they were young, healthy people who refused to get the vaccine. The military also forced a lot of young, healthy people who were at virtually no chance of dying of COVID to get the vaccine, and those who wouldn't, they kicked a lot of them out. So now they can't get people to fill the military to fight these endless wars that our government keeps starting with people. For many years, it was said that the U.S. military could not beat the American public in a fight because the American military is made up of the American public. So obviously people are not going to murder their own families and bomb their own houses and their neighbors. And so there was always a feeling that the U.S. military, at least there was some limits that the American military would be willing to do against its own people because it is themselves. Well, if you put a bunch of immigrants into the military, which is how Rome fell, by the way, when you have people in your military who have no allegiance or loyalty to the country they're fighting for, at a certain point they just say, why are we listening to these nerds? Let's kill them instead. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. When you have people who have no allegiance or alliance or loyalty to the country that they are fighting for, there is nothing stopping them from doing things to said population of said country that normal soldiers would not be willing to do. There may be things that, immigrant soldiers, or at least a military full of immigrants, would be willing to do to the American people that a military with American citizens would not do. There would be mass desertion if, say, the military wanted to bomb an American city. But who's to say that a bunch of migrants from Haiti, Venezuela, Mexico, Guatemala, China, and all around the world, 43 countries, I forgot how many countries they said, a ton of different countries. It's not just, at least it used to just be Mexicans. Like, that's who immigrant, you used to say illegal immigration, you thought Mexican. No, that's not the case anymore. We're talking about Haitians, Guatemalans, Hondurans, Africans, Chinese people. Hundreds, thousands of Chinese people are coming here en masse. It is a smorgasbord. There will be no unifying ideology, belief system, value system holding the military together. It will just be people being told what to do, being given orders, and will have very little to no emotional attachment to America and particularly the American people. But what do you think? Let me know. Let me take this call. Hello, caller.
Well, good evening. How are you doing today?
It's all good, brother.
Well, yes, sorry. When you were thinking about, when I was hearing you talk about loyalty, I almost choked.
Okay.
And I say that kind of happened, Jess, but I wish it weren't so. But just as an example, I'm sitting eating a hamburger and having a beer, and a couple ladies are sitting next to me, and they start talking about criminals, right? And they said, well, and they're talking about they should get the maximum penalty and you rub them guys out, right? I said, well, what if you're talking about somebody innocent? The ladies got really angry. Well, basically, if authority says you're guilty, you're guilty. You better not argue with authority, right? And we're programmed to be that way now, right? We're given the choice. Hey, you want to punish people? Be authoritarian. You'll bring your country back, right? That's the kind of mentality, right? I mean, when I was in the military, when I got out of the military, I didn't appreciate the draft at all. I enlisted, but a lot of people got accepted for their families and life, but I think the draft might be almost better in the kind of society we live in. That makes the billionaire's son possibly pay the same thing yours and my son would pay for.
Yeah, but the billionaire sons ain't gonna. Remember, George W. Bush got out of the draft.
That's right. They're not going to do it anyway.
Right.
I mean, yeah. Mr. Clinton didn't do it.
Right.
Mr. Bush didn't do it.
Nope.
No, the old man Bush knew what it was like to fly in the face of danger, and I tell you, Kerry did too. He's on riverboats.
Right.
In '69. Right. So all these other guys are just corporate guys.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of our problem is we've got corporations essentially telling the lawmakers what kind of laws to make.
Yep.
Instead of having representation of the people. And so we're kind of, got to paddle upriver with no paddles.
Yeah, I agree.
I appreciate your conversation every bit. And I didn't mean to disagree or anything.
It's all good, brother. Thank you for your call.
Yes, man. Have a good day.
You too. But also, not only that, there's another reason that particularly Democrats want more illegal immigrants here. And this actually happened just this week right here. It flew under the radar in the news, but the Democrats actually defeated an effort to stop undocumented illegal immigrants from being counted in the U.S. Census. Now, currently the census includes everybody. Doesn't matter whether you're here legally, doesn't matter whether you're here illegally. Completely irrelevant. The census includes everyone. The Republicans tried to pass an amendment that would count only American citizens in the national census, but the proposal was unanimously defeated by Senate Democrats. So that's a big part of the reason right there. This is about the game that the Democrats and Republicans are playing with each other. The Republicans gerrymander like the state of Indiana. The state of Indiana is gerrymandered as hell. Like, politically, this state is Alabama. That's why I always call Indiana North Alabama. Like, this is North Alabama. This is North Alabama, okay? With our laws. But Indiana is really only 56% Republican. That's it. And places like Lake County and Marion County have big blue districts, and a lot of the population centers in Indiana are very blue. But Republicans retain 70% of the seats in the Indiana House because of gerrymandering. So it's not proportionate at all. The Democrats' way of fighting back against this is by flooding the urban blue areas with illegal immigrants, which will swell the populations of these communities with black, brown, and yellow people, who will then be counted in the Congress. In the census. I'm sorry, you gotta forgive me. These people will be counted in the census, and that means more seats in Congress for the Democratic Party. Research in 2020 found that if illegal immigrants were left out of the census count, California, Florida, and Texas would have all had less seats in Congress. So there you go. It's about the war between the Democrats and the Republicans. And if that doesn't make you feel good, then another ruling just came down recently that's going to make you really feel good, that found that illegal immigrants have a right to own guns. That's right. Illegal immigrants have a right to own guns in America. Yes. U.S. District Court Judge Sharon Coleman of the Northern District of Illinois, right across the border from where we are right now, Northern District of Illinois, referenced lower court rulings in dismissing firearm possession charges against Heriberto Carbajal Flores, who was illegally or unlawfully in the United States when he possessed a handgun in the Little Village neighborhood of Chicago in 2020. You know where Little Village is? It's the west side of Chicago. It's North Lawndale. I think is it North Lawndale or South Lawndale? Anybody? Okay, I'll look that up. But Little Village is either North Lawndale or South Lawndale. It's the far west side of Chicago. I believe North Lawndale is the black part. South Lawndale, I believe, is Little Village, or La Villita, as it's called. Which is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the most prominent Mexican neighborhood in Chicago and I think the Midwest. Now, this court found that Carbajal Flores' criminal record containing no improper use of a weapon as well as non-violent circumstances of his arrest do not support finding that he possesses a risk to public safety such that he cannot be trusted to use a weapon responsibly and should be deprived of his Second Amendment rights to bear arms in self-defense. Coleman, who was appointed by, guess who she was appointed by? You want to guess? You want to guess who appointed this woman? Come on. You know it was. Illinois. I'll give you a hint. Illinois. That's right. Old Barry O. Good old Barry O. So what we found is that illegal immigrants have constitutional rights to be able to carry guns in America. So somebody could theoretically be in a drug cartel, come across here, be found with a gun, and they will have the legally protected rights to do so, unless they are somehow, they have a record that can be in this country that can be used against them. They will have complete carte blanche to have a weapon. They will have constitutional rights. They will dismiss firearm possession charges against illegal immigrants. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. But it just goes to show you that the elites in our country currently, they are cashing out. They are cashing out. They have zero intentions of doing what is right for the American public. They do not give a damn about any of us here in this country. We are solely the people who pay for the wars. I mean, I just had to fill out my taxes. Last week, I almost cried. I could have almost cried filling out my taxes, knowing that my tax dollars are going to go to blow up people in Israel or Palestinians in Palestine and going to go help Nazis fight in Ukraine. And that's all we are to them. We're just taxpayers. That's it. We're just sort of hosts that they can suck our blood from, and that is it. Now they don't even need us to fight in their militaries. They don't even need us to fight their wars. They will get illegal immigrants. They will bring them in here in mass, have them go over to Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Somalia. When the wars with China and Russia finally happen, it will be a bunch of immigrants fighting in those militaries. Now, how are they going to be sure that the immigrants from China have loyalty to the United States and not China when we fight in China? They don't know. They have zero. Again, America is sort of, it is looking more and more like America is an empty husk. The way that we look at America is the way that America used to be. But it will not be for much longer. And I think the powers that be know this. They are getting everything they can. We are seeing the wealth divide between rich and poor get bigger and bigger and bigger. You see how rich people like Elon Musk is, how rich Jeff Bezos is. I talked about this earlier this year when the study about wealth inequality came out. Jeff Bezos made so much money in the first few years of the pandemic that he had enough money to give every Amazon employee in America, numbering close to 1 million people. He could have given every single one of them $100,000 as a bonus. And if he had done that, he would have just been just as rich as he was before the pandemic started. Think about that. He made so much money in the pandemic that if he gave $100,000 to 1 million people, he would have been just as rich as he was before the pandemic started, and he was the richest man in the world then. That is the scale of wealth that we are talking about here. People always want to talk about Oprah rich and a billionaire, or LeBron James is a billionaire, or Michael Jordan is a billionaire. Do you know how small the black billionaire class is? Elon Musk by himself has more money than the entire black billionaire class put together, and multiplied. So does Jeff Bezos. So does Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. These people have that much money. They have more money than not only all black people, but the entire black billionaire class. That's how much money these people have. And they are getting richer and more powerful and extending their power over our politics, over our media, and everything else. America is just an empty husk to be sucked off of. And what you're seeing with immigration is just another part of them doing it. So all I can say is love your family, love your friends, protect your children. We're going to talk about in the next segment about how our children are being targeted and being led to make some very adult decisions that they often regret. But love your family, love your children, shield your children the best that you can, save your money. The crush is happening, folks. The elites have zero intentions of saving us or preserving anything that has to do with the United States of America. You know, God bless you all. All right, folks. When we come back, we're going to talk about the trans movement and an article from the New York Times that's surprising a lot of us, being that they are the hellmouth of cultural liberalism in the United States. We'll be right back after these.